All right. Hi, I'm Mike Shields. I'm here in Cannes with part of the View Planner series. I'm here with Kevin Blazaitis. He is the president of Creo, which is OMD's influencer marketing practice. Hey, Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here. Good to see you all.
So you're the influencer guy. Yeah. I feel like, help me understand, for brands right now trying to navigate that space, it's incredibly, there's so much opportunity, but it seems like it's just incredibly difficult from my point of view to figure out who do brands want to work with, what creators make sense. It just can you help us understand how you navigate that universe?
It's become very reliant on understanding not just who a creator is, but who they reach, right? Like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was very focused on who an influencer was. Now our job is really quantifying them as a media channel and saying, not only does Mike reach these individuals, but we understand how he impacts them and where he resonates with them, et cetera. The data depth and everything that is needed is light years ahead of where it was even a few years ago. So that's really the big piece, is not just who they are, but who they reach.
If you're talking about even just looking at YouTube, there's the Mr. Beast of the world of really big names, but there are dozens of creators that have audiences in the multi-millions on a regular basis. Do you almost treat them? I wonder if you treat them like television programs with reliable audiences, or is it more about partnering with them on a creativity level, or is it how do you figure that out, the balance?
Yeah, sometimes you have to understand what a micro will get you, or somebody that reaches a small niche like micro community. That's CES. That was the biggest buzzword, right? You had like micro communities and how you tapped into those. Now, subscriber bases are growing. Influencers are, especially on YouTube, not just entertainment vehicles, but they're media channels themselves. Mr. Beast is a great example.
They're creating brands.
They're their own brands, absolutely. They have their own merchandise now.
Yeah.
Right? Like they merchandise themselves, they package themselves out there as you would an individual sponsored entertainer. Like that is a big step. So we may activate 15 micro, nano, like scaled influencers, or you could go after 2, 3, 4, 5 of the multi-millions of subscriber counts, and YouTube's a very specific growing space for that as well.
Are you seeing I imagine many brands say, I want Mr. Beast, I want to give me a Feastables. That's not realistic, probably. Yeah. How many brands are pushing for that all the time versus I want to just put my creative in their hands and let them sort of figure it out?
Yeah. Creator selection is so key, right? And a lot of the back and forth that we normally have with a brand is, why do you want to access Mr. Beast? And he's a great talent, right? But that comes with both a price premium, and it also comes with an understanding of how he represents your brand. And I think that is a combination of like head versus heart, where a Mr. Beast has a huge audience base. But if you're really looking to access and kind of use an influencer as a way to inject a brand into a conversation, somebody else that might have a smaller audience is a good way to test that narrative and build that brand. And then you amplify with all the great tools that are out there now. You can amplify a lot of that content. So it's a balance, but I think we're seeing more and more people ask the right questions around how to kind of create guardrails versus driving the car for that influencer.
What is your biggest challenge? Besides discovery, I guess, is problem. Is measurement where it needs to be? Yes. Is it brand safety? What do you worry about in this space, or what do you need to see more progress on?
I'll say measurement is the biggest challenge right now. And the reason measurement is the biggest challenge is because of brand protection, right? A lot of what you've seen out there where brands have hesitations or concerns around influencer, it's not necessarily because they picked the wrong influencer. It might be because they overly emphasize what they want them to do. They try to treat it like a brand shoot. But a lot of times it comes down to data. Like, you need to understand who that audience is so that your message doesn't fall flat with them. And that is, like, to the point of data and measurement, working with YouTube to see, well, how do you treat a view on YouTube TV versus how do you treat a view on YouTube? Like, those are two different metrics. So measurement and bringing that to the level of what you normally see in media, that's a big challenge and a big emphasis for us right now as well.
Do you think there's been so much excitement around the growth of streaming, which is also happening as the growth of influencer consumption just continues, but there's like a generational split, it seems like almost. I wonder if brands have recognized this or need to come around to this. programming-driven TV-like consumption versus this generational thing that's happening, where it's creator-driven and algorithm-driven. How do you have marketers figured out where they need to play there?
I don't think they have yet, and I think it will continue to evolve, right? You have YouTube specifically, like Shorts has evolved night and day, not only in terms of how the content has scaled and really been produced in the right way, but there's a lot of creators now that will just focus on YouTube Shorts in the same way that years ago people did with Vine, right? Like that's a name and a throwback, but how they leverage creators as entertainment channels, how they leverage them as media channels, and when they want to kind of dabble in and out of that space, it is a balancing act for a lot of brands.
You mentioned Shorts. I mean, short form has become this, almost like eclipsing the traditional long form comedy, drama, that kind of entertainment consumption. It doesn't seem are obviously a perfect for marketing. Is that a challenge when you're talking about snippets of content where it's hard to shove ads in a traditional fashion, but you got to figure it out because it's becoming so prominent.
And it's very big, especially those under the age of 24. Like Shorts is a huge area of emphasis right now.
Or Reels or TikTok, whatever.
Absolutely, go across the spectrum. But yes, short form video content, you have to be very punchy. And I think one of the interesting things is now 90% of content is actually going out there and being paid amplified. So you need to create something.
That's part of the deal.
That's part of the deal. And that is to the point. If you're going to have on YouTube an ad that's optimized against 6 seconds, don't make the call to action happen at 8 seconds. Right? So you're thinking through that.
That's a really different way of producing an ad, or thinking about how to hit somebody with the messaging. Last thing I'll ask you is this, you might not be able to answer this today, but how should, I wonder if people don't know where to always put this bucket. They want to. Should this be all video, all the same kind of TV money, or is this an influencer strategy, or should those worlds come together? I don't know if we're going to answer that today, but where is that headed?
It has merged considerably, right? Originally, influencers were just PR vehicles. They were used and briefed as like you would go brief a press outlet, right? And then there were creative vehicles. Creative companies figured out ways to tap into them. Now they are also media vehicles. They're commerce drivers. Because they are merchandising themselves, because they are very tactical about their subscriber counts and everything else, they are out there to make a brand for themselves, but also out there to really understand and reach those consumers in a way that previously was reserved, honestly, for media channels like TV programming, streaming, etc. You brought up a number of different areas. Now it's about using influencers because they touch so much of the brand marketing funnel in general right now.
Yeah, it's just that they don't plug into the same kind of buckets as easily as the traditional 30s in TV. But
completely.
It's a different strategy. But
I think that's part of the message of really what we've been talking with our brand partners about is how to get influencers moved up in terms of if you move them upstream in the planning process, it's much easier to go to them not after the fact, but early in the process and say, we should include somebody on YouTube. We should include somebody on even like a Snapchat or TikTok or Pinterest. All those different channels have their own place. So moving it up in the funnel and understanding at planning, okay, we will actually have influencer assets to use on Pinterest, on YouTube. That informs a brand strategy in a way that previously was reserved only for full production shoots. And now that's very different.
All right, Kevin, great stuff. Thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.